Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com or look for us on Facebook at Voices from the Bench. Greetings and welcome to episode 169 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
Number 69, hey, 169. My name is Barbara.
Somehow I knew you were going to mention that.
I needed to do that for myself. It's been a rough day.
What's it like in Florida?
It's really rainy.
Really?
There's a depression or something out in the Gulf of Mexico, and we're on the right side of it, so we always get the shit weather. The bleep weather.
Yeah.
So it's been raining for 2 days. Not completely straight, but for the most part, off and on.
Well, that's good. I kind of remember a couple of weeks ago you mentioned that it was really dry and you needed it.
So they say when it rains, it pours, and that's what it's doing.
Go. I think we're on our third day of over 90 degrees and hot, humid in Indiana, and it really sucks. And it's like if I don't go for a run before 8:30, the whole day shot.
Yeah. I've been running at like 2. It's 93 at 2, so I'm getting it. I'm going, and it's hot, but I love it.
So you missed FDLA. A lot of people said hello, asked where you were.
Yeah.
I understand. Work keeps us busy sometimes, but it was a good show. It was good to see everybody out and about. No masks. All that mandate was gone.
Fantastic.
It was good. It was good just to run into people and be able to talk to them without looking at them and thinking they're full of disease.
Okay. So what's up?
So last week, we didn't receive any audio thanks to celebrate Dental Technician and CDT Appreciation Month. Well, we want to show appreciation for those that sent them in this week because we got a bunch of them.
All right.
I guess when we call out people for not sending any in, people get their and gear.
Nice.
Make sure you stick around after the interview to hear the love from others in the industry. But fear not if you didn't send one in because there's still one episode left in the month. And you can still give that shout out to that special someone or someones in our industry. Remember, all you got to do is record yourself on your phone or computer. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. And email it to info@voicesfromthebench.com and we'll play it on the next episode. Don't let this year go by. 1 week left.
So dental lab shows have started up again finally. There was Texas, there was Visions, they both happened. My good friend and partner Elvis was at the FDLA last weekend, and there are many on the schedule to happen over the next few months. But the first time in many, 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 many months, both of us, Elvis and Barbara, will be recording at a show. Voices from the Bench will be recording all weekend at the Ladies of the Mill Summit in Chattanooga, Tennessee, July 23rd and 24th. Super excited. This is a totally unique meeting. Definitely worth checking out if you're looking to get out and learn and network. Head over to ladiesofthemill.com to see the all-female lineup of speakers, all the great events, and after-hours entertainment. And to see why this event will surely be the first of many. And because it's so cool, the ladies that started Ladies of the Mill are offering a special price to our listeners of the podcast. So when you go to ladiesofthemill.com and register, enter the promo code VOICES, and you will get $50 off, which is amazing. Thanks, ladies. So this is a great deal, and it's only good until midnight on July 4th. So come see us July 23rd and 24th at Ladies of the Mill. Cannot wait to get out again.
It's amazing. Yes, $50 off, promo code VOICES.
That's pretty fantastic because it's $200 to register, and that's $50 off. That's a huge
heck yeah.
So thank you.
Come and bring all your technicians.
Yep, and they have to be females. Just saying.
No, they don't. That's the thing. I don't want to be the only guy there. Me and Brian, we need more guys.
Okay.
All right, guys, this is our chance.
Do it.
So this week, we talked to a guest that surprised the heck out of me as we got to know him more. I was on Facebook and saw a post from Dustin Osburn, from Osburn Certified Dental, or OCD, where he converted a van into a mobile dental lab. Now, it looked really cool, and we wanted to know why or how he started this mobile lab. So when we asked Dustin to come on and talk about it, it turns out he has a full history of training removable technicians all around the country with NDX and running large removable departments, producing ridiculous amount of work. I was surprised that he had this backstory.
Oh, yeah.
But COVID had him and his family switch gears, and he now owns a lab that I think most technicians would enjoy the freedom it gives. So join us as we chat with the man with the van, Dustin Osburn.
Elvis, when your lab was getting busy again after the shutdown, how the heck did you handle all of the extra work?
It definitely came back a lot quicker than we expected. And the nice thing is that we have an amazing partner to labs in the industry, Alien Milling. Not only did they handle all the designs that we were not prepared to do, but they could also handle any milling we needed done.
So, one of the buzzwords is that the outsourced design centers lack consistency. Did you see any of that? Was that an issue?
Not at all. Not only was everything back to us the next day, all the designs were done here in the U.S. with a team of dedicated technicians that gave us what we like to call straight-to-mill designs.
So basically that's no adjustments needed in my language.
Pretty much. You didn't have to open up 3Shape to make sure it looked okay.
Nice.
It went straight to the mill. And if the case was super complex, we just let them mill it. No matter if it was a zirconia crown, Emax, an abutment, titanium bars, or even dentures.
I had no idea they do all of that. So how is their turnaround times? We all know that that's the most difficult part of outsourcing work. You just don't know.
Absolutely. Most services are done next day. From crowns to bars, even the iVotion digital denture, next day.
Wow. Seriously, next day? That's amazing.
Yep.
What if I want to have Alien mill some of my crowns, but also mill my own? Do you think the doctors will know the difference?
Believe it or not, they're not just a milling center. Alien Milling also provides the discs of the same zirconia and can set you up with one of their amazing mills so you can produce the same quality restorations that you want your lab to be known for.
Wow. Sounds out of this world, totally amazing. What is the best way to find out more about Alien Milling?
You can give them a call at 844-ZIRCONIA.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty fancy. That's 844-947-2664. Or head over to alienmilling.com to see all the services and products they offer.
I'm going to do it. Thank you. We appreciate your support of our podcast, Alien Milling.
Voices from the Bench. The interview. We'd like to welcome to the podcast Dustin Osburn, who is from Arkansas, who I saw online. I think it was a Facebook post. I don't even know what it was. It was like people showing views from their bench, maybe?
It was actually one of your posts where people are talking about doing their chairside conversions and showing the broom closets that they're working out of.
In a closet. Yes. That's hilarious. And then you showed this picture of like a converted van that is decked out better than most labs I've seen.
Nice.
And I thought this has got to be an interesting story. So welcome to the podcast, Dustin. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you guys for taking time and having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dustin, before we get into what we're going to call the van down by the river, how did you get into our industry? Obviously, you didn't just buy a van and think, "Hey, dental technology is the way to go." How'd you learn about us?
Well, in high school, it's never something that I even thought about or was introduced to. But interestingly enough, my pastor and his wife were dental technicians. Now, at the time, I didn't know what they did. But as I got out of high school and I was working, my mother-in-law, I just got married. And so I was looking for a good job and was actually welding at the time. And she told me I should swing by Green Dental Lab. That's the lab that Kim and Jeff Thomas worked at. And so I went by there just because I had heard it's a good place to work. I went and tested, and they hired me just a few days later. And so that's kind of how I ventured into the lab scene very blindly.
Was that Josh Green?
Yes.
Wow, that's a big lab.
Yeah, so I live about an hour north of Heber Springs, which that's where Green Dental Lab's located.
Mm-hmm.
So when they tested you, What sort of test? Was it like a working test?
The test that we went through, the first one was the chalk test, and that's the one everybody's scared of. They give you a drawing and they give you a piece of chalk and a barred Parker knife and millimeter rule. And you have to carve one end is a bevel, there's a slice in the middle, and there's a three-dimensional equilateral triangle at the end of the chalk. And so you have an hour and a half. They put the chalk out there, the drawing, a millimeter rule, a barred Parker, and some Band-Aids.
And what do you have to draw?
So you don't have to draw anything. They have the dimensions drawn out that you have to carve the chalk to.
Mm-hmm.
You carve that, and if you make it past that phase, then they have hand-eye coordination tests. So it's like how far you can get through a maze. You have to put 2 check marks in a box and see how many boxes you can fill in a minute. And then you do a reverse image test. And
wow.
Let's see, the last one, if you're going into ceramics or something like that, then they'll do a color test.
Yeah.
To see how you see colors. So I wasn't going into ceramics. What they hired me for, Kim Thomas at the time was a removable department manager there. And so I actually got hired into her department.
Wow. I was going to ask, my original question was, did they give you a bar of soap and have you cut anatomy or some sort of design of a crown? I've never heard of so many tests before. I've heard of the Glidewell math test.
Yeah, right. No, that's how every technician, now I don't know if they still do it, but when I was hired in, like every tech went through that process. And once you made it through that process, then, you made it out. And they would do classes with Ernie Robbins at the time. He's an excellent technician. And so he would go through some of the basic landmarks of the mouth and watch some videos, go through, give you the gist of the process. And then the rest of the time you would spend on the floor with technicians just learning.
I have never heard of such a involved hiring process. That's pretty intense. I don't know if they still do that or not because, technicians are hard to find.
Right. And so what they do is they rarely hire technicians with experience. It's a very remote area. And so people are trained from the bottom up. And when they do that, what they're looking for is people with the right hand-eye coordination and, the right aptitude for dental technology. Because as we know, this is not a job that's for everyone.
True.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure.
Do you still have your chalk tooth?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Well, I think they kept it, and I scored really well on it, and I think they used it for an example as well. Now, whether they still have it or not, I don't know. But, they would qualify you. You were Q1, Q2, Q3. I tested Q3, which is at a higher level. So They were hiring me for a finisher, acrylic finisher. So, each job in the lab, depending on what you were doing, it had that qualifying level, the Q code, I guess you would call it, but the Q level. And so once you tested, they would kind of know what area, you would perform the best in.
So where'd you start? So you started grinding acrylic?
Well, that's what they hired me for, but they started me in repairs, I guess, because they wanted me to be able to fix anything that I broke during the process. So it's, in hindsight, it's not a bad plan.
Well, yeah, I agree.
It makes sense, actually.
If you guys want me to kind of run through it, I can kind of tell you the process through green and on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When I hired into green, I started as a repair technician, and I worked at that for about a month. I previously went to school for auto body and repair and also welding technologies. So working with my hands, prepping surfaces, things like that. I had already been through in other industries, not so much on the dental, but the concepts were very similar as far as how to prep surfaces for acrylic. It's very similar to how you prep for paint. As far as like contouring, shaping, doing things like that, I'd had experience with that. I took to the process really well, picked up on the steps, that it takes to do that well. After about a month, I was proficient in repairs and they moved me to acrylic finish.
Yeah.
So they're a production laboratory. And as you're training, you're sitting by an experienced technician. And so they help, coach you through the process. They have their own workload to do, but especially in the beginning, it's very hands-on, sitting by them, watching, and then, for lack of a better term, maybe monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
You watch them do it, and then you try to mimic that and do the same thing, and they kind of coach you through it step by step. And so Lindy Sutherland was my trainer when I was working on finish. I happened to pick up on it quickly. After you can produce more than your pay, you actually go on to production. So I think I only trained for about a month
Wow.
before I actually went on to production for finishing. And after about 3 months, I made level 2 technician, which is when you have a 95% pass rate on your work through quality control. And so I made it through that, and I worked as a technician for them for about 5 years.
Were they NDX at this time?
When I hired in, Josh was still walking around the lab, but he had just sold out.
Okay.
And so this is 2005.
Okay.
Yep.
Would be the time frame on it. And so I worked as a tech and cross-trained into pretty much anything they would let me as far as in the department. I was really lucky. Kim Thomas is an excellent technician and mentor, and she really took me under her wing and helped train me and, make me a better technician. I love Kim because she's really cut and dry as far as work goes. She's a very loving person, but when you're at work, it's work.
Nice.
Yeah. She's going to take it serious. So between her and Mike Harlan, who was a doctor relations there, they really helped me. They understood that I wanted to learn more and be better. And so I think they recognized some leadership qualities that I had, and they really worked with me. And so after about, I think it was 6 years, because, after 5 years, I could take my CDT. I think in about year 6, I got promoted to being the removable department manager.
Wow.
It's a kind of a co-manager deal. Myself and Forrest Dewberry, we ran the department under Ed Barger, who was the removable operations director. And so to do that, you have to become certified. So at that point, I took my CDT. I was lucky I was able to take it, kind of on my home ground. We had enough people together to have them come to us.
Did they support that and pay for it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They cover all the charges. Now, I didn't have time during the day to study and to do that. That was on my own time. I spent every Saturday for a few months at the lab prepping, just running through the test, honestly, every Saturday. I did that for probably 3 months.
Wow.
And then I took the whole test in one day. So I did, instead of breaking it up in sections, I just went ahead. Kim and Tony Seal told me just go ahead and get it done. And
knock it out.
Right, just knock it out. And so I did. I'm glad I did. I felt like I was very prepared for the test, and so ended up scoring very well on it.
Yep.
And
I can only imagine you did.
Mike Harlan, he also scored very well on the test, and so I was kind of poking fun at him because I beat him. We took 2 different tests. I can't remember what he scored. I scored a 98.99.
Wow.
On the hands-on part. I missed 1 point of contact on in my process set, but anyway, we kind of poked fun at each other about it. He took his in cast partials. But so I did that until, I was with Green for 10 years.
Wow.
And after that, I actually left the company. It's fast and furious. Elvis, you and I were kind of talking about that beforehand, lab life. And
busy.
Yeah, the Arkansas Medicaid account, we had that exclusively at Green along with the regular work. So we were running a department of about 45 technicians.
Holy moly.
Of just removable?
That's huge.
Just removable. And so,
oh my gosh.
Never heard of such a big removable.
We had 10 acrylic finishers and 3 setup technicians, I think 5 waxers. It was a machine.
Your tooth cabinet must have been the size of a room.
It was a whole room.
I bet.
It's funny how your mind works.
It was a whole room. And so after keeping that pace for a while, I kind of burnt out a little bit, and I felt like I was ready for a change. And so I actually left the company, and I was starting my own business, which was not dental.
It was not dental?
It was not. I actually kind of mentioned welding and doing some of that. I've always had 2 jobs. And so when I'm not a technician, then I'm welding. Wow. Honestly, I do a lot of it. And so I was doing that in land improvement. I'd actually purchased some equipment, and I live in a very rural area, a lot of farms and stuff like that. So I was doing that for about 3 months. And Scott Riggin, when I worked at Green, he was the general manager, and he had moved on into corporate for NDX. And so he was actually head of the professional and technical development team. And he called me and left me a voicemail and just wanted me to give him a call. And so I called him. They had been interviewing for a removable trainer at the national level for national Dentex, and they'd interviewed a lot of people, but people had it on paper but didn't have it in their hands.
Yeah.
That makes a lot
Not
of
what they were
sense.
looking for.
Yep.
Anyway, they called me. Kim Thomas had actually recommended me for the job, so Scott got a hold of me, and they had me come to Green and test for it. And so I went over there.
Another test.
Right, another test, which can be a little bit nerve wracking. This is after, so I haven't been a technician at this point. I haven't been working on the bench for 4 years, and then had been completely out of the lab for 3 months.
Wow.
Wow.
And so when I got there, I'm like, you had to bear with me. I might be a little bit rusty. Honestly, I was a little slow, but I did well.
Yeah.
And so he hired me that day.
Wow.
What was that test? So that was to become a trainer, or?
It was. So that was to become the removable trainer for National Dentex as a whole.
Wow.
And so that test was making a set of base plate biorams and giving to them. And then from that point, articulating the case and then setting upper and lower full edentulous and letting them look at it, and then waxing both cases, and letting them look at it. And we didn't go through the entire process, but we went through the first steps of it to where they could kind of review my hands-on ability. And that was pretty much it. I don't think I made any custom trades or anything like that, but just to show them that I have the skills and ability, and so that was kind of the test.
Yeah.
Along with, of course, Scott, he knew me and my background, and so as far as credentials and things like that, it's not like I was well known or a top person in the industry, because I didn't venture outside of that department. I was pretty much in there day to day, making sure everything ran smooth.
Well, 45 people. I mean, it kept you busy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, for sure. With that, guys, we would check in between, a slow day'd be 250 cases and a big day'd be 400.
Oh my God.
We were processing anywhere from, I would say, 130 units a day to 200.
Oh, wow. With 3 setup technicians?
Let me tell you, I've been all over the country and in a lot of labs, and we had 3 of the best setup technicians that I have ever come across.
Wow.
That's intense. So they hired you in as a national trainer. What was that like for you? A lot of travel, I would imagine.
Right. With that, I would travel pretty much every Monday morning. I got up at 3:15 in the morning, and I would drive 2 hours to the airport because that's how far I am.
Yeah.
Rural.
And I would get on a plane and fly to whatever location, that they had ready for me to go to. So it might be Manchester, New Hampshire. It might be Orlando, Florida. It might be Reno, Nevada. And so I would go get on a plane, try to get to the location by, I was usually try to be in lab by about 1:30 on Monday, and I would stay until Thursday, and then, I would fly back Thursday. So I was on a plane 2 days a week, fly out Monday, fly back home on Thursday. And so, yeah, quite a bit of travel.
And you would go into the lab and you would sit there and you would train people that were already there to get them better? Or would you go in and just start with somebody just walking in the door to teach them?
It depended. Like I said, it was the professional and technical development team. So actually, what I got into was I would go on site. They would send me to problem labs, I would say. I don't say that as a bad term, but labs that needed help.
Yeah.
And so my background in management and running a large department efficiently aided me in being able to go in and troubleshoot, bottlenecks, and honestly help train managers to how to better run their department. What I got into, after I started traveling, was I would train technicians. I would actually go in and write an evaluation of the department, and I reported directly to Scott and the board of directors for National Dentex. And so every week it would be go to a lab, sit down, train people, train anyone in the removable department that they felt needed, additional training, evaluate technicians' abilities, pretty much write up an evaluation and help the department managers set a plan for those technicians and also for their department, how to improve them. And so that was pretty much, every week was just like a troubleshooting training week. And I would typically be working with about 4 labs, a month and just kind of make a circuit. And so I would go to, the first lab, work with them, go to the second, third, fourth, then loop back to the first. And so I just my boss, Scott Riggin, we would talk on the phone or email. About the week before, he would let me know where I was going, and I'd purchase a plane ticket and book a hotel room and be on my way.
Wow. Did you travel with tools, like dental carvers and stuff, or did you just...
I didn't, and you can learn. I'll be honest, I learned how to do this with about anything you could put in my hand at that point.
Yeah.
I was used to kind of having my own tools, and being on airplanes, you can only carry certain things.
Sure.
And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to teach them how to do this with whatever they've got in front of them.
Nice.
These are the tools that the technicians have to work with. And not that we didn't order tools, because if I saw something they needed, we ordered it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I would sit down with them with what they had and teach them how to do it.
No, that's smart.
Which is probably the best way, because you can't really, change everything a technician's doing. You want them to be super comfortable and just get better and not go in there and revise every single thing they're doing.
You're reinventing the wheel. A lot of times you can take and just kind of tweak what they're doing to help get them moving in the right direction.
I can see where you go back in and you can see all of the positive changes and things getting better and better and better.
Right.
How long did you train for NDX?
I trained for them for about 2 years, and I actually had been talking to Scott about taking over a laboratory. And so between him and Tom Dalton, the CEO of National Dentex, we were kind of bouncing stuff back and forth, and they liked the idea. And so Tom Dalton was kind of pushing Lansing, Michigan, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's a long way from home for me either way.
Yeah.
And so there was a lab manager in Tulsa that was going to retire, and Tulsa's about 5.5 hours from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's close enough that I can bounce back to see family or whatever pretty easy.
Yeah.
Talking with Scott, he was over about 6 labs at the time, along with the professional and technical development team. And so he helped me get that lab in Tulsa. It was Flood Dental Laboratory. After 2 years of training for them, let's see, what year would that have been? I guess it was like 2017 that I went and I took over Flood Dental Laboratory, which I know more now than I knew then. But at the time, I didn't realize, I knew it was declining, but I didn't know exactly to what extent. I won't say anything bad about anyone, but the lab was on the downhill more than I was aware.
Oh.
And so when I got into it, it just didn't work out. I worked with the technicians. We made improvements. We were trying to turn things around, but unfortunately, there was not any aid to help the lab grow. They were actually working on phasing that lab out and rolling that work into another lab. And unfortunately, that's something I didn't know going in, but it became very obvious once I had moved my family to Tulsa and dug kind of deep into it. And so during that time, I was actually, so I'm trying to push forward and move and grow and actually looking into acquisitions as far as like, who can we roll in? How can we build this? And start the snowball rolling down the hill to get this thing going. And so that's where I met Adam Brewer, who owns Brewer Dental Laboratories. We had actually met and talked. And as I got to know him and talking to him about maybe Dentex purchasing his laboratory, he decided that he would rather just hire me and have me come run his dental laboratory.
Wow.
It wasn't anything that I jumped on real quick, but over time, as I could kind of see the writing on the wall for what they were doing, I accepted his offer and transitioned. The funny thing is it's only a few miles away. It's also there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He probably had about 20 technicians. Well, I say 20 technicians. It was about 20 people total. So that's front office, drivers, everyone. And their specialty was removable at the time. And he was in a building with another lab named Tafla Dental Lab. was owned by Jafar Tafla, and they were Crown and Bridge. So they, they had their own separate operations, but we're in the same building.
Interesting.
Adam could kind of see when I came on with him, I pretty much pitched him the same ideas that I gave Dentex when I was working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And, I unfortunately got a lot of no's when I was working for them because their plan was kind of to go the other direction. But when I went to work for Adam, he was very much behind it. And so he actually had a new location that it was in stud walls when I hired on.
Okay.
And so he said, I'm going to need a lot of help laying this out and getting it going. We're getting ready to move and expand. And so the initial working with Adam was going in and helping him lay out the lab and order workbenches and helping the electricians understand kind of how, where everything's going to lay out,
Mm-hmm.
How much energy it's going to pull, those kinds of things. And so over the next several months, I was evaluating his technicians, honestly, and their skill sets and, seeing where they were strong and where they weren't and looking at the systems as far as like his computer system. And so what we did before we moved was I helped them Magic Touch software as a dental laboratory management software. And so it was one that I was familiar with from working with Dentex, but not nearly as familiar as I was about to get. So I'm not IT, but I went in and I know all the processes. So whether it be Crown and Bridge processes step by step, or if it's removable, I pretty much went in and worked with Magic Step and I entered all of the products and all of the tasks and all of the times and the pay
Oh, I
rates.
hate that. Oh, yeah.
So I had to come up with all of these
Yep.
and build them into the system. And then also I couldn't believe it. They had 12 different price lists.
Oh, sounds like Night Dental.
And so I had to, get all of those, which they were all written on paper. And so I had to kind of sort through them and see what was what, put all the accounts in, assign all the accounts their correct price list. So pretty much set up the computer system and then set up the scanner systems and things like that to track productivity. For the first probably 3 months that I was with them, that occupied a lot of my time. But we got the system in before we moved to the new facility. And so I helped them move equipment over the weekend to a new facility and be set up and ready to run for Monday. And, everything doesn't go perfect, but honestly, it went pretty well.
Oh, did
Nice. It went a lot better than I thought it was going to. And we got them in there. And then Tafla Dental Lab during this has merged with us. And so we bring their technicians on board. So they move with us.
Wow.
So now we're full service. And then after a little while, Flood Dental Laboratory, they went ahead and closed its doors. And so
it's a good thing you didn't stay.
You're right. I didn't stay. So those technicians didn't have, they just shut the doors and they didn't have anywhere to go. So they came to work for me.
Huh.
Heck yeah.
That's awesome.
And so they came over. We had just built out a new facility, had plenty of open chairs. So they came in and went to work for us. And shortly thereafter, there was a dental laboratory by the name of Classic Dental Lab that was all Crown and Bridge. And so at that time, we only had about 4 Crown and Bridge technicians. And so they had, let's see, when we hired them in, we brought on about 10 more.
All at once?
Yes.
Wow.
And so I helped onboard them, get everything set up, move another laboratory
Jeez.
in and get it set up. It was a very project-filled time. And so we get everybody in the same building and we start tracking, key performance indicators, safety, internal quality, external quality, productivity, and having morning meetings and getting everybody on the same page, and then we start working on the next piece of the puzzle when, as you grow, you have growing pains. And so you're going to have to review your systems and how you do things. And so, one of the first big things is as you grow, quality is going to, you have to really keep a close eye on it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I helped them set up quality control and designated quality control technicians. That's all they do is look at cases instead of, trying to put more on the department managers to where they have to be involved with the work, oversee the technicians, and look at every case that goes out the door.
That's a lot.
Now we have people that their job is just to make sure that we maintain quality. And so we got that set up, and I started tracking. I told you we were tracking productivity. They were looking at going to a production system. And so all of that's in the computer. I built it in, to the system to be able to track all of it. And so we start working with the technicians on that and letting them know what the numbers are and coaching them, honestly, meeting with individuals, making sure they have the tools that they need, making sure that they have the training that they need to hit their goals. And about the time they were going to go on production, COVID introduced itself. And so
wow.
I had just wrapped up most of my large projects for them as far as, what we had set out to do initially. And, at this point, we've grown about 250% from 2 years ago.
Wow.
Not to say everything is going perfect, but it's a very self-sufficient machine at this point. It's, we have things in place that manage processes. And so it's not something that you have to just keep your eye on constantly. If you miss a day or something like that, it's not the end of the world. Life goes on, things keep moving. And so with that, when COVID hit, we cut it to a skeleton crew. There's only about, we could only have 10 technicians in the lab. Adam, he's a very hands-on owner. And so he's going to be there every day. Well, my salary to oversee 10 technicians is not worth it. And and I recognize that. And Adam and I were friends. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just stay home. I'll volunteer and stay home. You're going to be here every day anyway. You don't need me to oversee it. So that was the plan. And I took off and was out. That was the end of March. And around May 24th, I think, I was called to come back to work, which was fine with me. I was ready. And, there's only so many yard projects you can do before you're just out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. No, I get it. I was going stir crazy during that time.
Right. Called me. He sounded a little different, and he had actually, he was scared because he didn't know what the market was going to do, if it was going to stay down or what. And so I could tell that he was worried about it and worried about the money. And so unfortunately for me, when I came back, I was let go. Like I said, I had wrapped up a lot of the major projects that we had and, had things running smooth. And it was just kind of, for him, I guess it was good timing because I had, finished a lot of the projects.
Everything done. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But for me, it was not the greatest. But it's a business decision, and when you need to save money, unfortunately,
the big ones
larger salaries are gonna go pretty quick, and so that's what kind of sent me into coming back home, and so I sold my house at the end of that day.
Wow, you're a fast mover.
And yeah, that happened a little quicker than I thought, and so the day that I found out that it was going to happen, I made one phone call and sold my house, and
got the hell out of there.
Pretty much. 2 weeks later, I had a week of work to finish, and the next week I moved, and so like 2 weeks later, I'm sitting in Arkansas, back home where I'm from, and of course with that change, that's uncertainty, and before I left, I guess I found out on like a Tuesday that I was going to lose my job, and my wife and I are talking. We have 2 kids, and like, what now? And so as we sat there, Adam and I had actually discussed a mobile laboratory for expansion to Oklahoma City because we operated out of Tulsa, but we wanted to be able to go to Oklahoma City and offer same-day repairs, relines, things of that nature. But he didn't necessarily want to sink the money into a facility.
Yeah.
We had talked about it, I think maybe 2 days at the most, because he brought it up to me. I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. I think we could check it out. And so there's a place that actually sold like transit-style vans about 2 blocks from us. So we just walk over there one day and look at one just to see what they even look like. Just a regular transit van. And we looked in it and it's like, oh, wow, these have, it's a lot more room than I was expecting. And you could actually stand up in them.
Really? Huh.
Not hit your head. And so we talked about it a little bit and I told him, I think I could put one of these together. And that's about as far as it went, honestly. at the time, we had some other projects going, and so we just didn't pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thought was always in my mind. I was kind of, at that point, I'm thinking, well, how would I do this? How would I put one of these together? And he was talking about having someone else build it.
Not with your welding background.
Well, and I thought, to me, I've always been mechanically inclined, I guess you would say. I like to mess with things. I like to tinker. And so, as I found out I was losing my job, I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and she's worried. And I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What are we going to do?" And so I told her, I'm like, "Okay, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to go back to Arkansas. We live remotely, right? So we're kind of out in the middle of nothing, just the mountains. So there's not like a lot of work here, but there are larger towns within an hour or so of here in about any direction that you go. And so I told her, I said, I am going to build a mobile lab, and we're going to live where we want to. And I'm going to be able to go to any of these towns that I want to operate in and do what I do.
I love it. I think it's
And
genius.
so she was like, okay. And so when I got home, I had an F-150 and I had my severance money. And of course, I had some money set back, but I took my severance pay and my F-150 and traded my F-150, and I bought a Ram ProMaster van and brought it home. And I took my severance money and I purchased all the equipment and supplies that I needed. And I spent the next month waiting on Amazon, UPS, or FedEx
to deliver all your presents.
Right. And as they delivered things and as I went and purchased things, because some of it were kind of large items, and so I would go and pick them up, I put this thing together piece by piece as it came in. And, it probably took me a month to build, but if I had everything there, I can, and now that I've done it once, I can replicate it pretty quickly. And so I did a lot of studying on, how to set it up, what's going to be the most efficient. And so the van is actually, it's all battery powered. And so it all recharges off the alternator when it's running. And when you disconnect it, so when you turn the key off, it actually separates the back battery system from your front battery. So you can't ever run it down. You can't ever run the van down to where it won't start.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so what I set up for was actually like, I told my wife, in Tulsa, like repairs and stuff like that, there's so many offices, and same day repairs and things like that are, a really big deal. And that's one of the ways that we get into offices is by offering those same day services, because everybody likes convenience, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the business model idea, is start out doing repairs, relines. I mean, I can solder in there, add loops, add class, whatever we need to do. And I can do it right there on site. And so the idea is to just roll up and do whatever they need to get your foot in the door. And it works. I work mainly out of one town here in Arkansas, it's Batesville. And the way it worked was just, I can take the van and I can go there, and pretty much anything they need that is same day I can handle. Well, that just opens the door for other work. If you do something for them and you do it well, they're like, well, what else can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can do dentures. I can do acrylic partials. I can do flexible partials, mouth guards, pretty much anything that you need. And so one by one, I start picking up accounts, and now I work for everyone in that town. So there's about 10, 10 offices down there that I'm working with. And, I started this in, I think like August of last year is when I rolled out and picked up my first case. From then, it has been fast and furious in growth. And so it's awesome to me because it went from a thought on my couch to here.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been really, really fun, really different, because there are a lot of things you have to overcome when you think about a removable laboratory and everything that you have that goes in it. I mean, we have hand pieces, we have a curing pot, we have lathes, we have a wet model trimmer, we have pumice stations, suction.
Wow.
Do you have a boil out in your van?
That I don't. I could, the way I have it set up, but I don't. I have a little room here at home that I boil out and process, but if I needed to, I could do it out of the van.
That's nuts.
I have 3 15-amp circuits in the van.
Jeez.
I have a compressor in there, which is housed in a cabinet that is insulated, so it keeps it quiet. But I mean, I can do about anything I want out of it. The biggest thing for me is with how much work I'm doing now. I actually it's me and my wife. I've trained her during the process, and so we work two of us out of this van comfortably.
Wow.
And stay married.
I know. It's
Wow.
wonderful.
I'm sure she probably wants to choke me sometimes, but she does really good. But we're actually looking at some point. This is going to. I've passed the point of I can do everything out of the van that I have,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm ready to have a location for home base.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was thinking that was coming. Yep.
Right, but I can replicate this, and so that's what's fun about it. You can create a home base, but then you can expand business anywhere you want because I can offer same days anywhere that I want. I can send one of these to any metro area to pick up same days. And then once you start picking up same days, you're going to start picking up other cases from there. And so the business model is unique. And you're messing with me, Elvis, about selling dentures out of your van down by the river. And I was going
Yeah.
to tell you, actually, in the town that I work at, there is a large river that runs by it. So you're not wrong.
He's never wrong. That's true.
So you guys have listened to me blab for a long time now. You can ask me anything you want about the van, the operation, whatever, and I'll see if I can answer something for you.
Well, my first question was converting the van. How much do you think that cost you to get all that equipment in there? You don't have to be specific, but just the actual conversion part of it. And then how do you keep everything from not flying around when you drive?
That is the part that is hard to overcome, the keeping everything in its place.
Yeah.
And I would probably divulge more, but I actually have people trying to buy me
Oh.
and the idea on how to do it. And so I will say it can be difficult. There's definitely a way. I can take what I have now, and if someone calls me, I can go from sitting at the bench and waxing or grinding or polishing or trimming models, and I can be gone in less than, if I need to, in less than a minute.
Wow.
I mean, I carry 800 cards of teeth with me
In the van?
in the van.
Wow.
I mean, I have a way of keeping everything in its place. But, when you get a new idea, people are really funny. I've had a laboratory contact me and I mean, I'll tell them, and I've sent you guys pictures. It's not like it's some secret.
Sure.
But there are certain parts that I won't give out because naturally somebody's going to replicate this, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to keep anybody from doing that. That's perfectly fine because it's pretty neat. There are parts of it, that are difficult and hard to build and hard to do. It took time to research it and figure it out. So some of that I won't necessarily say, but
Well, that's fair. Yeah. It's all good.
How do you guys invoice? Do you have like a computer and a printer?
You know, as far as invoices go, I keep it simple, and that's one of the things for the van. And being a small operation is you can keep things really simple. I know how to run some really impressive lab management software, but there's no need.
Yeah.
With what I'm doing, I can take just an invoice book and write out invoices in, just a minute
Hmm.
and box them up. So it's weird because I'm so used to being on a large scale
Hmm.
to be I say by myself, but me and my wife doing this work and be back to the basics, back to really simple business.
Yeah.
But it's so uncomplicated.
Yeah.
You just have to
And it
quit
should be.
overthinking things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's become a really simple process.
Hmm.
It's not like you need to run reports on your production. I mean, you know what it is. You are production.
Right. It's me. And so, nowadays I know every case that comes in and out. I talk to the doctors about every case myself. You would be amazed at when you have that kind of control and you're putting your hands on every case and know every step.
Hmm.
It's amazing how exact you can be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Obviously, you don't need to market because everybody in the town knows who you are. But did you have an original price list on exactly what you would do?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I tried to be as professional as possible. I mean, I wear scrubs, and so they have my logo on it, which is, the name is Osburn Certified Dental, but it's OCD. That's what we go by.
I like that.
And so it's very fitting because I'm very much that way. But I put stickers on my boxes with my name on it. I
Mm-hmm.
have the logos are all over my van. When I roll in there, like I said, I wear scrubs. I look professional. When I go around to them, I went with a resume and a price list and a list of same day services that I could provide. And so, just like anybody else markets, when you're starting from scratch, I started during the best year ever, 2020,
Yeah.
when everybody's got their doors shut and you're required to wear a mask and you can't even walk up and open a door. You have to make a phone call before
Yeah,
you can go into an office. So
Yeah.
to start a successful business in that year, it took some work
I bet.
and it takes a lot of no's
Yeah.
Yeah.
people because I don't know how much you guys have done sales, but I'm not really a salesman. I won't try to sell you a product, but what I can do is tell you how I can help you.
Yeah.
And that's the approach that I took with the doctors. And so once I found the right area, where the need was, which is the great thing about the mobile unit, it doesn't matter. If someone has a town locked down, and they have a good lab and they're just not going to pull from them, that's okay
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't buy a location in that town. I can be in any town that I want to be in.
That's cool.
That's what makes it neat for me when you're working from a remote area like I live in, and it's gorgeous here. I love it. But there's not a lot. I mean, the closest town to me is Mountain View, and there's like 2,700 people there. So it's very small. But in just a minute, I can be to towns of, I say just a minute, and in an hour travel time, I can be to towns that have 10,000, 20,000,
Yeah.
and more. I can be to the state capital in an hour and a half. And so you can take it anywhere you need to go. You go where the work is. And that's what my idea was, is I need something that I can take where the work's at.
That's for sure.
So you'd go to an office, go in there, grab the same day work, sit out in their parking lot and do it, and then walk it
Right.
right back in?
Right. So you're talking about, you take a repair that they have to ship somewhere.
Sure.
And patients don't like to do without that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody wants to go without their teeth, and they're going to need upkeep on things. They're going to need relines. They're going to need repairs. And so I can take those, and instead of them shipping the case out, just say a driver comes by. So it's a day in the car,
Yeah.
and then it's a day in the lab, and then it's another day in the car. Well, you go from that to about, I mean, if I'm going to do a repair, you're talking 20, 30 minutes, and they have it back.
Mm-hmm. Do patients realize that it's out in the van getting fixed?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Probably.
Any of them want to come watch?
You know what? Surprisingly, I haven't. Now, I've had people want to look,
Yeah.
and I've actually had other dental technicians just see me sitting and want to come check it out. And
Mhm.
so the dentist, of course, that's one of the main things. They're like, mobile lab, what's that? And I'm like, come check it out.
Yeah. That's cool.
And so they come out and they see it and it looks professional and it has, the vinyl graphics on the side and the back and the front. It has them everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And then they get inside and they see, I mean, this is an actual functioning dental lab, and it's not like, it doesn't look like just some homemade thrown together junk pile. I
Didn't
mean,
look
I
like
tried to
something I
set
would
this stuff.
do.
It,
Yeah.
I tried to make it look very professional because it's something that I want to be able to show them.
No, the pictures are amazing. It looks professionally done. It's nice.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I was afraid to have someone else do it because they don't know the vision that I had for it. And so for me I know how I'm going to work out of it every day.
Yeah.
So I know how to, what I need. And so that's one of the main reasons.
No, I could totally see that. You'd have someone else do it and they don't understand workflow or the need or having this next to
Right.
this. Yeah, totally makes sense. Well, that's amazing, Dustin. I think it's really cool what you're doing.
Me too. I'd like to come check it out. I can't wait to see the pictures.
What do you do in the winter or in the heat?
Okay. So those are super good questions because naturally you're going to fight the elements a little bit. But so I have running water
How much water do you carry with you?
that I carry is 15 gallons. And so with that 15 gallons, I can operate honestly for about 3 days at a time.
Wow.
That's not bad at all.
Right. And my drain tank that I have in there is 14 gallons. And you're like, well, that math doesn't add up. But, but when you're mixing stone and doing things like that, you don't drain all of the water back into your drain tank. That's
Sure.
absorbed into stone and other things. And so, I have that and I have steamer and things like that can freeze. And so you can do one of two things. You have to store that in a climate controlled building, park it in there, or of course the van has its own power. You can plug in a heater and just leave your heater on low and keep it warm inside.
Yeah.
So, as far as it's freezing up in the wintertime, that was something I was watching close because it got really cold this year. And so it was not too bad of a problem, just something you have to think about at the end of the day. And as far as the heat goes, it's insulated. So I insulated the walls and the ceiling and stuff. And I just run the AC from the van.
Oh, wow.
And it keeps it cool. And of course we usually got the radio on and listen to a podcast or, listen to some music while we're working.
Nice.
So.
I think I'm fascinated by it still.
Me too.
I'd love to check it out sometime.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. And, as far as those pictures go, if you guys want me to send you some pictures or something like that, I don't have a problem doing that at all. Like I said, most questions I'll answer. There are a few things just like how you keep things set that I'll kind of keep to myself. But other than that, you can tell a lot of it from the pictures. And so it's not like it's some big secret.
You should drive that thing to Chicago Lab Day some year and you'd be the most popular guy there.
Oh, goodness. I can't even imagine. I've only been to Chicago one time for Lab Day. That was when I was on the professional and technical development team. And you should see this. I'm can't tell by my voice, such a country kid. And so when I got to Chicago, it's like, whoa. It was a different world.
That's hilarious. Well, Dustin, we appreciate you coming on the podcast to talk about your van down by the river.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for having me. And I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, that's a great story. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Thanks.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
The Asiga Max, the world's most advanced lab 3D printer, offers exceptional productivity. Well over 400 labs in the U.S. can attest to its accuracy, speed, and precision.
With a 62-micron print precision, the Max is optimized for both the dental lab or the clinical environment. Its exclusive SPS Smart Positioning System technology guarantees that every single layer is formed accurately, resulting in consistent results in any environment. And its single-point calibration makes calibration extremely accurate and fast.
As an open material system, you can print any suitable resin from any material manufacturer. Your choice, no strings. The Max also features the fastest material changeover of any 3D printer.
Labs love this. Change completely from one print resin to another in under 30 seconds, which is really amazing because you and I both know how hard that is. All of this and the finest, most dependable technical support staff in the dental lab industry.
Call Whitmix today or visit whitmix.com to find out more about the Asiga Max. And as always, we appreciate your support of the podcast, Whitmix.
Thank you, Dustin, for coming on our podcast to talk about your amazing van down by the river. We love to hear from technicians that are doing things a little bit differently or a whole lot differently. And we can all agree that Dustin is definitely doing something you don't see too often. I would love to do something like that, just saying. We were shocked to learn that he was not always from a small lab, that he took the path of the large lab and corporate to a small lab with handwritten invoices. I really love that. So thanks for coming on.
Do you think you could do that in Florida with your weather? Or do you think it would only work in other states?
I think I could do it if I had an air conditioner in my van.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it without it, that's for sure. But yeah, I think so.
You'd bake in that van
Yes,
down there.
And I would not be a nice girl, just saying.
No. And now, after a week of not getting any, here's a collection of thanks from listeners to celebrate Dental Technician and CDT Appreciation Month.
Hi, this is Denise Padilla with Desktop Health, previously in Vision Tech. And I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that's opened their doors and their labs throughout the years. And I couldn't be more grateful and humbled for everyone that's taken the time to teach me and speak to me and answer my questions and have the patience for me to learn the business. And from the bottom of my heart, from every company I worked for, thank you so much. Y'all mean everything to me. Thank you so much. Bye.
I'd like to take a moment to thank all of the dedicated and hardworking laboratory technicians. Whether you're new or you've been at it forever, whether you're digital or analog, whether you do single units or full arch restorations and dentures, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you do.
I want to thank Sherry Rumsfeld for being a really great teacher and showing me how to be better at my job and always encouraged me to get my CDT. She's a really great tech, probably the best tech I know.
Hey guys, this is Melissa Burlott. I'm a denturist at Northwest Dental and Denture in the state of Washington. I actually have 2 lab techs I want to thank today. The first one is Amber. She's been with us for about 7 or 8 years now. She actually just got back from maternity leave, and during that time, I really got to understand how much I appreciate her. I really missed her. She does so much for us, and I'm so glad to have her back. Our next one is Terry. She's been with us for about 25 years, and she's truly a Jill of all trades around the lab. She can handle just about anything we throw at her, and she's really good at keeping us in line. Both of these ladies are truly essential to our success. They make me look good day in and day out to the patients, and I'm just so lucky to have them on my team. Thanks, ladies.
This is Randy and Scott with Renstrom Dental Studio in Minnesota, and we would like to give a big thank you to our 9 CDTs at the lab.
We appreciate your dedication to the dental industry and all the care you give to your cases and patients.
So thank you to Chris Schmitz,
Lori Jonovan,
Michelle Welk,
Sandy Nohava,
Ken Bushman,
Colleen Davis,
Kristen Gorder,
Rick Renstrom,
and finally to Randy Renstrom, who is celebrating 40 years as a CDT this year with retirement.
Congratulations and thank you all for your commitment and hard work.
A big thanks to everyone that sent in their thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, 1 week left in June, so record away and email them to info@voicesfromthebench.com. Don't let it turn into July without wishing that you did it. Don't let it
turn July wishing that you did it.
You just do that. I like that.
I just did. Okay. Don't let it turn July wishing that you did it.
Like it.
All right, everybody. That's all we got for you.
See ya.
Talk to you next week. Bye.
He is struggling today, folks.